Hello there, welcome to another Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition battle report. This is going to be a 2000 point battle line scenario, and I'm using Dwarfs and my opponent's using Warriors of Chaos. The army lists, I will put them in the video description, so I won't actually post them up in the video itself, but I will go over deployment. So we'll start with my Dwarfs, and on the left hand side, just out of the picture, there's a cannon that has Rune of Forging, and next to them 26 Hammerers, another cannon with Rune of Forging and Rune of Burning, and 23 Longbeards with their shields and the Stubborn Banner, my Thane and my Runesmith. I've got a Master Engineer and an Organ Gun with the usual setup, which is Forging and Accuracy. Then the red models in front of the Organ Gun are Thunderer models, but I'm using them as Irondrakes, and they've just got a standard with the banner of Slowness. And in the middle, which is over to the right hand side of the picture there, I've got 10 Quarrelers, and they're deployed there because I don't really have any chaff, so they were my first drop, and I just put them in the middle to hopefully throw off my opponent's deployment a little bit. And across from me is the Warriors of Chaos, and we'll start from the opposite corner of the board. So starting on the right hand side, the 5 Chaos Warhand models are actually being proxied from Marauder Horsemen. Behind them is a Demon Prince of Khorne. Then the Skullcrusher model is being proxied for a Gorebeast Chariot. I think the base size is probably a bit different, but I don't think it makes too much difference. 5 Hellstrider models in the middle of the picture there are another 5 Marauder Horsemen. And then we've got a huge block, 10 wide, of 30 Chaos Warriors with, I believe, with halberds, and in that block there's a level 4 Sorcerer Lord and also an Exalted Hero BSB. And I'll just zoom back out to this picture so you can see the rest of the Warriors deployment, because you can see there's another Skullcrusher model to the left of those Warriors just next to the rocks there, and that's another Gorebeast Chariot. And then all the way on the far right of the board is another Skullcrusher, which is another Gorebeast Chariot. So there's 3 Gorebeast Chariots in this army. The Sorcerer Lord's using Law of Nurgle. Spell-wise, he gets Fleshy Abundance, Curse of the Leper, Blades of Putrefaction and Plague Wind. I finish deploying first and I get the first turn. For my hatred roll, I roll 1, which just means my general hates his general. I've got no movement this turn, and obviously no magic. So in the shooting phase, I fire my Organ Gun at the central Gorebeast Chariot. I get misfire with my first barrel and re-roll it with Rune of Forging and get 10 shots. And my second barrel, the same thing happens, so I end up with 20 shots, which is, I think, the first time I've achieved that. And I think I do 4 wounds to it, and then one of my cannons takes the last wound. My other cannon fires at the other Gorebeast Chariot, which is basically opposite from it, and I do 4 wounds. And finally my Thunderers, they fire at the Marauder Horsemen who had vanguarded up, and kill 4 of them, but they don't panic. The only other thing I should mention is, I think I said I had no movement, but that's a lie actually. I did move across my Irondrakes. I think I just moved them out the way so that my Organ Gun had a clear line of sight towards the Gorebeast Chariot, and I didn't have to take hard cover from the Irondrakes. So in Warriors of Chaos turn 1, the block of warriors marches straight forwards, and it can literally just fit in between that little shed, which is impassable terrain, and the rocks to the left of them, which are also impassable. So they just march up 8 inches, and on the right hand side his Demon Prince flies round, is coming round, I think probably use its full movement, but it's still a long way from my lines, and it's got some cover from the trees. And his other Marauder Horsemen are coming round towards the flank of the Quarrelers, and the lone surviving Marauder Horseman moves up to be within throwing axe range of them. His other flank only has 1 Gorebeast Chariot now, and that advances up. You can see just how slow they are. They only move 6, and being chariots they can't march, so it's a long old way before it gets to my lines, and I've got no doubt that my cannon can take its last wound before it reaches me. And the Chaos shooting phase now commences with some mighty retaliation. Actually, the lone surviving Marauder Horseman there manages to kill a Quarreler with his throwing axe, so that's actually not bad. And in his magic phase he gets off Fleshy Abundance and Curse the Leper onto the warriors. Basically I let both of those spells through because I knew he would have enough dice left to cast Plague Wind, and I was more concerned about that as I'm at this moment in time I'm not going to be firing at the warriors anyway. It's on to Dwarfs turn 2, and reform my Quarrelers to face a larger unit of Marauder Horsemen which were to their flank. I move the Irondrakes forward a bit, so they're just most of them are in range of the Warriors of Chaos, although not all of them can actually shoot at the warriors because you actually measure arc of fire from each model, not from the unit itself, which is something I've played wrong for quite a long time actually. And the organ gun, you can see, has a clear bead on that lone Marauder Horseman there. So don't worry, he won't be getting away. I don't move anyone else though. In the shooting phase, the Irondrakes, because the Chaos Warriors are toughness 7, they don't cause any wounds, and I think I fire one of the cannons at them, maybe the burning cannon actually, which negates their regeneration, but then I discover that one of the characters has the Ironcurse icon, and he rolls a 6 for his ward save, so he saves that one. My cannon predictably finishes off the other Gorebeast Chariot on the right hand side, and in one of the most overkill moments of any shooting phase, my organ gun unloads both barrels at the solitary Marauder Horseman and slays him. Warriors of Chaos turn 2. The block of warriors has to make a decision on which way it's going to go. Are they going to reform and move a short distance through the smaller gap towards my lines, or go around but stay 10 wide, but still have to wheel, so not move that far? And he decides to go round, which it seemed like a tough choice I think at the time, and I'm still not sure which was best, but it is a long way to get around there, and I mean he's going to have to hope that that Gorebeast Chariot and the Demon Prince are still alive to back them up, because they're going to face a lot of shooting in the meantime. So rather scarily, the Demon Prince now comes out from its cover. It's exposing itself to my shooting, but if it survives, it is going to wreak all sorts of havoc if I can't bring it down. And the Marauder Horsemen, you can see at the bottom there, which are the Chaos Hound models, they're a bit too far away to charge, so they move up to throwing axe the Quarrelers. And the Gorebeast Chariot at the top there, which is the Skullcrusher model, you can see is just plodding forwards. In the magic phase he gets Fleshy Abundance off onto the warriors, and I think the Marauder Horsemen kill a couple of the Quarrelers with their throwing axes. So my turn 3, I reform my Irondrakes to face towards the Demon Prince, and also my organ gun has a nice clear shot at it as well. And you can see from this shot my cannons are facing towards the flank of that Chaos Warrior unit, and that's 10 wide, so that's a prime position now to start massacring those warriors if I can roll well enough. And I decide to charge my Quarrelers in towards the Marauder Horsemen, take a stand and shoot reaction from them and lose a couple more, so I've only got 4 left now. Obviously we're going second because I'm initiative 2, but I've got great weapons anyway, so I'll be going last. I reckon those dwarfs, they'll be touch and go, it'll be an interesting combat, because the Marauder Horsemen are only strength 3, so I should be in with a shot there I think. So this is going to be a key shooting phase. Now that the Demon Prince is out in the open, I unload the organ gun and the Irondrakes into him. Both units have strength 5 armor piercing. He's got 2+ saves, that takes him down to 5+ armor, 5+ ward. I get a decent amount of hits, but I only get 2 wounds through, so he's got 2 left, and I think that's plenty for him to charge into my line still. If he had 1 wound left, I wouldn't even be bothered about him, because I could sneak a wound through, but Demon Prince charge into my dwarf blocks with 2 wounds should probably still massacre them. So let's just hope he doesn't roll well next turn on his charge. And the cannons fire into the flank of the warrior unit, and I was expecting to do a ton of casualties, but I think I just placed the initial cannon shot a bit too close to the unit. I think it was only 2 inches away, and probably should have stuck it a bit further back, because with the first shot passing over quite a lot of the warriors with both shots, I only end up killing, I think, 5 warriors altogether. And in this combat I kill 2 of his guys, I only lose 1, win combat by 2, and break them and run them down. In Warriors of Chaos turn 3, he charges the Demon Prince into the Irondrakes, and it's actually quite a poor roll. I think he rolls a 7 altogether with Swift Stride. And I have the Banner of Slowness, so he minuses d6 from his charge roll. So if he'd rolled, I think, anything other than 1 or 2 on his minusing of d6, then he would have failed the charge. But he rolled 1, so he still made it in, and my stand and shoot didn't do anything. The big block of warriors just continues to move around the terrain. You can see it's taking a long time, and my arm is still a long way from it, and the Gorebeast Chariot just trundles along behind that shed there. In Magic he gets Blades of Putrefaction off onto the Demon Prince, giving poison attacks, but unfortunately he miscasts and kills 4 warriors in the process. You can see the warrior unit now looking decidedly smaller than it started off. And in combat his Demon Prince kills 6 Irondrakes with its attacks. He's given it the Daemonblade and rolled a 6, so he got like 10 or 11 attacks or something. And at strength 7 as well, because the Demon Prince gets +1 strength when it charges, because it's Khorne. So he kills them, but unfortunately he rolled 2 1s to hit, and with the Daemonblade that means those attacks hit himself. He only had 2 wounds left, and he got very unlucky on his saves and killed himself. So the Irondrakes actually are spared an absolutely grisly death at the hands of the Demon Prince, and it's now pretty much over for warriors, because that block of Chaos Warriors is just going to get pummeled by artillery. Dwarfs turn 4, and I think I back the hammerers up so that the far right cannon, which you can't see in this picture, can get a clear shot at the Gorebeast Chariot, and the other cannon has a bead on the flank of the warriors again. So I moved the Irondrakes forward a bit to get out of the way of the cannon shot, and there's no other movement. I think this turn my organ gun rolls pretty badly. I think I misfire 1 barrel and the other one only gets like 6 shots. They don't really do anything to the warriors unit, but the cannon kills 3 by the looks of it. And it looks like from this picture his Sorcerer Lord has already taken a wound. I think that's from a miscast earlier. I think by this stage in the game, turn 4, he's already miscast twice, and this Sorcerer wasn't rolling a lot of dice for each spell. It was only sort of 2, 3, 4 dice at most, so pretty unlucky with the miscast so far. And my other cannon fires at the last remaining Gorebeast Chariot and kills it in 1 shot. I think I rolled 6 wounds. Warriors turn 4, his unit was facing the wrong way in the previous turn, so he has to, I think, either swift reform or just wheel round, and it really doesn't get him very far. He's still got a long slog to my lines, and I don't think he's going to make it now. And in the Magic phase he gets Curse the Leper off on them, giving them toughness 7 this time, but miscasts again. I think this might have even been on 2 dice, this miscast. There's the 2 6s there. These are sort of 2 or 3 dice, I think. And I think now he loses 2 wizard levels. At some point during this game, one of the miscasts, his wizard lost 2 wizard levels and lost Curse the Leper and Plague Wind, I think. So that really is a death knell, since he's not going to be able to protect himself adequately now or deal any damage to me in the Magic phase. So it's Dwarfs turn 5, and this is how it looks on the board. I just moved my Irondrakes out the way there, and all my war machines have got a clear shot at the warriors, I think. And we mustn't forget about those brave Quarrelers, 3 of them left there, coming around to the flank of the warriors. I'm sure the Chaos Warriors are extremely nervous about the prospect of 3 Quarrelers in the flank. And I fire all my war machines off at him. I think his toughness 7 protects him from the organ gun. One of the cannons gets 3 wounds, and he's got his Ironcurse icon, and he rolls 3 6s for his ward save. So that definitely made its points back this game. It's only 5 points, I think, and it saved I think at least 4 warriors, probably 4 or 5. who probably come out about 20 points each. So it's the start of Warriors turn 5, and we take a look at the board and we decide to call the game there. You can see how far the Warriors are away from my lines still, and obviously I can back up a couple of inches next turn, and he's not going to be able to reach me, especially considering I think he's got a wheel of it as well. So we end the game. I didn't actually count up victory points this battle, but Dwarfs have lost nothing, no units lost, and Warriors have lost everything apart from their main block, which obviously contains the BSB and the Sorcerer Lord. I did a quick calculation of how much that unit and the characters would cost, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a bit more than 1,000 points, so it wouldn't be a crushing victory to the Dwarfs, but it would be a solid victory nonetheless. So that battle was going to be an uphill struggle right from the start, because that block of Warriors was just so far away from my lines that it took so long to get around the terrain. I had time to pick off all the other units in the meantime, and really I don't see what the Warriors could have done, because they all advanced up as much as they could, but it was just not enough. So there's obviously Dwarf list is very different to the list I normally use, since I'm used to sort of dancing around with Wood Elves or going more combat heavy with Dark Elves, and I think in future I might try some more combat heavy Dwarf lists, just to find combat a bit more fun than shooting, but I'm still trying to get to grips with Dwarfs, so might try out a few different things in future. So that's it, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.